They did pretty okay, but SSG, they were still able to ride it back, and we'll see how they come through here in game number 1, round 2.
Let's find out. Do they have enough to continue on their winning ways, or is it still going to be a bit of a feeling out period like the first series was? Apparently not for LJ. Flip reset into a musty to start this one off. He may not have connected perfectly, but the fact that the mechs are on point like that makes me think SSG has started to figure out a couple of problems they had in their first round.
It's a necessity. Now that you're warmed up, now that you've gotten into this environment again, there is no going back until you're either in day 2 or out of this tournament completely. You got to go 110% every step of the way. We're already seeing both teams try and corral this battle towards their midfield side, and Akrw a solid approach, but Daniel's able to get that early pinching save.
He keeps it out of the net for now, but is he going to be able to keep it off the half? The answer is yes. Akrw a little bit passive on the rotation back. A lot of open space, so they're going to have to try and march down the pitch yet again. Both with a good touch here. Can he get it back center, or at least put a shot on? But Daniel gets in the way. Back and forth we go through this first minute. And again, if you thought Akrw were going to come into this one slouches, you are dead wrong. This team is putting on the pressure and really making SSG work for it.
They never do they, Bass? Akrw is always just present. As long as they're there, then you have hope for them. When they stop being present inside the game, that's when they start to take these falls, and that's how you've seen them kind of break apart in a lot of these other tournaments that have been happening across the offseason. Hell, even in the RLCS runs, a really great run, speaking of which, from LJ to open up the very first goal of the series.
And there's a run that you can love if you're an LJ fan here. Gets it over Fifi, sees Akrw on the backboard, and just bodies him with a 50-50. 90 seconds into the game, and SSG are the first to strike. Maybe this will shake off some of the rust that they had in round number 1.
It needs to. If SSG doesn't get their feet off the ground at this stage, then it's going to be such a tougher route back up. You got to remember, teams like Moist, they're on the lower side. At the best, they can go 1v1, and so whoever loses this is going to have just as tough a crowd, arguably, as the team who wins this. You need every little advantage you can get, even if it's just one goal wide, which SSG has been able to hold for the past minute or so.
They've been able to hold on, but can they find themselves a second goal to just further this gap? Apparently not on this drive. Instead, O's going to get a touch off the corner here. He's going to try and take one center. Looks for the body on Daniel, but Daniel barely maneuvers his way around that oh-so-thick Merc and finds himself another save yet again. 3 minutes to go here in this game, and SSG now marching down the other side of the pitch. Oath will take this one off the backboard, booming out to mid, where LJ is waiting, though, and it could have been another chance for SSG to find some more offense, but a miss there out of Arsenal is going to have to force them into their own half yet again. Deep in the corner here, playing a bit of nuisance ball, just forcing Arsenal to make a heavy touch, and a heavy touch goes right back into the Akrw half where Oath can make a save, although it's not going to get off the half quite yet here. Arsenal 50-50 leaves LJ for another shot at the goal. They don't even get that shot. They attempt to, but unfortunately find themselves with more defenders. Akrw not able to find themselves their first goal yet, but they are hanging on pretty impressively against this SSG offense. Ooh, and they do it again. Oath with the littlest touch is able to keep that one out of the net, and as Akrw comes through with a 50-50 as well, looks like SSG are going to have to restart this offense, or they overextend. LJ caught lacking out at midfield, and it's a tied ball game.
And that is how Akrw recovers to a T. They're used to this 2-1 cycle where Akrw's main focus is to go for that beeline. But you know who started that defense? Oath, not Akrw. With the second that they got that cycle back on point, Fifi and Oath could completely recoup, focus on that attack when SSG overextended, and they completely capitalized.
Let's see, can they do it again? 2 minutes to go. Both of these teams have a chance to possibly capitalize, and Fifi's got an ego challenge at midfield. Sees Arsenal trying to get the fancy with it and says, no, 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 I'm going to take that one out before it can even begin. And speaking of begin, Akrw begin yet another offense here. Akrw with a good 50-50 forces Daniel to send it out to the side, and as Oath gets there before LJ, he's going to get 2 touches off the backboard. Akrw a bit too far extended, though, can't really get a shot. And as Arsenal goes to the skies, now a chance for SSG the other way. Daniel drops it down mid due to a miscoordinated pass, so it's up to LJ to keep it alive, and it might not even work out, because Akrw gets this one up high. Oath and Fifi, though, don't know who wants to commit, and neither one of them gets up in time. A huge chance for Akrw to find their second goal, but instead they are forced to retreat and back into yet another defense.
But it's good rotations preemptively. Both these teams are able to stage their defenses so quickly that it feels like this image of neutrality is constantly betrayed, but this game is anything but neutral. Daniel off this backboard. Fifi gets a solid jump to clear it out of the way, but LJ's waiting in midfield, ready to get that other attack going. A miss from both ends lets Daniel go for free, but Fifi's able to drive that away for now. Akrw have been able to keep attrition from bugging their defenses, which is something that they tend to be really weak to. A double demo makes this a 2v2 temporarily, but Akrw is able to keep this out of the corner long enough for Akrw to continue this pressure as we hit the 45-second mark, but still a tied-up game at 1.
Oh,
Daniel, though!
Not gonna stay all that much longer. The caster curse, unfortunately,
That's the
showing
fastest curse I've
yeah,
ever had.
Listen, it has to show itself at some point here. And what else shows itself is Daniel finally connecting with the new star on SSG and LJ. And that'll give them the lead with about 45 seconds to go. Akrw, they've held on for so long, but now it's time for them to show some offense instead. And oh boy, it's gonna be hard out of midfield here. Akrw, not the greatest touch, and as Arsenal doinks this one to the backboard, it is SSG locking Akrw into their half for this final last minute. Wait a minute, Oath with a free lane. He passed out to Akrw. Akrw doesn't commit though, and Arsenal gets an interference.
They played just a little bit too slow, and at this point in the game, that is the only thing you shouldn't be doing. Akrw needs to be going balls to the wall at this stage. They need to keep this altitude. They need to keep this control. The second that SSG wrestles it back, it's game over. Astro's gonna have it up in midfield from the sideline, but LJ can drive it back. Oath on the B line towards that back line is able to keep it up towards that corner. Arsenal trying to drag it down preemptively. Fifi pinches it forward. Daniel brings it down again, but Fifi brings the altitude back. We're in orange territory, but can we get a goal on it? Absolutely not, as a double commit to bring that ball back down gives SSG the first win of the series.
It's the first win of the series, but once again, we mentioned it before, Space Station's road to get here was not paved, and apparently the path going forward is not paved either. This is a bumpy, rough road with potholes all across it. A Space Station Gaming narrowly take game number one. To be fair, they had an onslaught of shots, and pretty much every single one was met by a brick wall in the goal by Akrw. A total of at least 8 saves. We're not exactly sure because Oath dropped out of the lobby, so I believe it was about 10. Regardless, Space Station Gaming, despite the fact that they had 11 shots in the game, were only able to find 2 goals. So it feels like Space Station, they might have came into this one thinking, all right, you know, this will be a tough battle, but not too tough. No, it is going to be about as tough as ever. This is a very impressive Akrw roster who seem very prepared for everything that Space Station has thrown at them.
I will say, I do have very expected qualms towards each team, one for each. In fact, for SSG, at this moment in time, I gotta admit it, LJ still feels a bit too disconnected from the rest of the roster. Daniel and Arsenal, I think, are working with too much chemistry, and LJ, I think, just hasn't meshed perfectly enough yet. We've seen a solid amount of drives, we've seen a good amount of passbacks, but we haven't seen just a team all working together as a unit. Akrw, they have that down pat, they have their own strategy, I can't fault them for that. However, their momentum, one of Akrw's biggest weaknesses is where Akrw is dropping the ball at this moment. Post kickoffs, clears, counterattacks. Akrw just cannot manage that speed on that ball just yet to make any of these attacks, or at least most of them, really worthwhile.
I think the big thing that we're seeing right now is just sort of that hesitation. When you're playing a roster like SSG, they're so fast that you want to take a second to breathe, to try and figure out where that ball is going, and all you really do is leave yourself in the dust. In particular, we saw that get a bit vulnerable from Akrw in game number 1, but as game number 2 is underway, maybe they can change this one up. We go into the offense here for Akrw. They've got a decent touch out of the corner. Oath drops it down to Fifi. Off the backboard it goes. Akrw very quick up to this one. No hesitation in this touch in the corner, but unfortunately they can't quite get a shot on target. Arsenal's boomer out to midfield is going to force them to retreat yet again. And 30 seconds off the clock so far. It has been SSG with a solid offense, but can they do anything with it? Not quite. Arsenal backwards on that touch and can't find a follow-up shot.
See, Akrw's preparation is solid, but they do it in such a stationary manner where if you weave around it quickly enough, then Akrw is going to be stuck in panic mode. And that was a moment right there where Akrw kind of had to scramble for a split second, and it gave SSG that extra amount of space. But we're seeing Akrw start to chip away a little more with these attacks, and with Akrw grabbing that demo onto Daniel, only this one corner is corralled out, but that's all you need if Arsenal can win this 50-50, which he will. Fifi with a solid grab back, though, and nobody's exactly prepared except Arsenal, who's down on the middle, but they're not prepared for Akrw's follow-up, and Akrw scores the first goal of game 2.
You know what? I'm kind of glad that I had called out Akrw going into this one, because that just means he gets to step up in game number 2. Hesitation no longer a factor for this player. He comes diving in after the miss saved out of Arsenal, and although it is a save, it's not going to be enough. 1-0 Akrw, once again the first to strike. The question is whether or not they're going to be able to hold on to the lead this time. They're not even able to hold on to midfield, and Oath has to dive in desperately just to try and keep this one off the half. Speaking of keep it off the half, though, there's no one on the back half here for SSG, but it does not matter. Akrw shot off the bar and out, but not the follow-up. Never mind. Daniel out of nowhere makes the save, and SSG, they gotta thank their lucky stars that they somehow survived that attack.
Akrw keeps guessing right, but SSG keeps guessing right just a little bit more on those defensive opportunities, and Akrw, they haven't been able to thread the needle for the second time just yet. But difference there is SSG has had to focus all of their resources on keeping this lead from extending. Now they have to get an attack going off for themselves, and that's exactly what Arsenal to Daniel is gonna do, and we're tied up again.
Tied yet again. SSG, they just don't give up, and why would you? When Arsenal's able to get a beautiful touchdown like that, just barely past Oath, Daniel can dive in. Relentless offense here out of SSG. That'll tie this game up 1-1 here as we've got 3 minutes to go. And it definitely feels like both these teams are going to give us a brawl. The question is who gets that knockout blow here in game number 2. It could be Oath as he sends it off the backboard. Astro's there, but it's off the bar again. Daniel makes the save and keeps it out.
And you know that Oath backing was the only option he could have had there for that finality to make sure that on that off chance that that attack missed out, Akrw was ready to circle back. And here they are, once again, already corralling out of midfield. Astro with an early 50-50, gonna drive that down himself and give Akrw their second goal.
I asked him to step up after game number 1. He has not just stepped up, he's grabbed the ladder and climbed to the top ropes like he does for this shot. Hits it from the top ropes, barely pokes that one around Arsenal, and they have the lead yet again. Akrw with an incredible amount of offensive pressure here in game number 2, but they got to keep it up for a lot more time. Almost 3 minutes on the clock, plenty of opportunities for SSG to get back into it, and they already do! Arsenal with the solo play off the backboard, and we're tied again.
I'm so glad the replay system exists, Bass, because I need to see what failed in that post kickoff. It just doesn't seem like Akrw was prepared enough after Arsenal had such a beautiful carry all the way from midfield. I mean, how do you outplay something like that? You simply can't. We're tied up once again, and we're not even halfway through this game, Bass.
Oh boy, this is a banger if I've ever seen one. We were looking at all the matchups in round number 2 going, which one of these is going to be the best? And I think all of us kind of agreed. We were like, SSG versus Akrw feels kind of spicy. And oh, this isn't just spice. This is bringing the heat. Halfway through the game, and Akrw are back into offense yet again. Fifi with a drop down pass, and Daniel doesn't intercept it. They get lucky though, as Oath was already demo chasing, so Astro could not send himself as the third man without showing some vulnerability in defense. And speaking of vulnerability, Fifi has to close that out very quickly, and same with Oath out of midfield. Akrw back to another offense. Daniel has to get a little bit of a doink here, and he will, but as LJ gets bumped in the corner, it doesn't look like SSG is going to have a chance to break out. Not if Astro backs off though. We said we needed to see him be a little bit more aggressive, and instead that time he plays it a bit timid. It works out as they do get a shot to the backboard, but that is nothing further. Daniel intercepts this one out on the back half there, as all of a sudden Akrw are forced into their defensive third yet again. Back and forth we go. Ping pong action on both sides. With a tie game at 2 apiece, you never really know who that's going to benefit.
Oh, I love these little interactions that players have bit by bit. The game has to freeze for just a second as long as that ball is frozen. It is always and always will be the most important thing on that field. Players be damned. Astro gonna hold this up in midfield yet again. We've seen Akrw's cycle sort of turn into a shuffle when their defenses get really awry and they kind of have to get back on their feet again. But then, like, that's how Akrw really works. They get on their feet and then they stand like giants. Fifi gonna punch in for goal number 3.
All right, you talking about giants. I don't know who it was that made the save. Is it Daniel there that is able to just barely pinch that one? I feel so bad. That would have been the save of the day, but unfortunately the pinch does not go out. It just kind of stalls against the corner, and it's a 3-2 in favor of Akrw. They are not backing down here in game number 2 and would love to tie this series up, but they still have to hold on for another 80 seconds, and we've seen SSG. They've had breakaway plays, whether it's individually or as a team. They've had so many moments. Well, speaking of moments, though, LJ and Fifi in a moment here, 1v1, and Astro tries to come away with a shot but cannot. And as LJ flicks this one high, SSG survived yet another offense out of Akrw. Wait a minute, Fifi, no flip reset, tries to lock into it but just can't quite wrap around it.
And I think this is the moment where we're starting to see LJ level up. Nobody expected him to be the sudden fulcrum when it came to Space Station Gaming, but we expected him to deliver, we expected him to perform, and I think he's finally starting to show that here. He's going for more denial, he's going for more disruption, he's going for more interactions, he's becoming a lot braver now that he's shed these new yellow colors, and I think it's really going to show itself on the field as soon as that final jigsaw puzzle piece fits in with the rest of SSG. Arsenal with an approach over to Daniel from behind, and that's going to be another tied up game at 3.
And this is why we said it's so hard to try and stall this team. When Arsenal and Daniel, one of the best duos in North America, are able to link up like this, you kind of just got to sit back and enjoy the show. And unfortunately, the crew probably not enjoying this show right now, because with 28 seconds to go, they've got to try and get yet another lead in this game. So many opportunities, and a fake kickoff might just change this one up, but Daniel's able to read it, and he got free reign off the backboard. Shot not on target, though. And SSG, they get a chance to nail the dagger here in game number 2, but have to retreat, and it could be a problem. No, Fifi not able to get the 50-50, and with 10 seconds to go, it feels like Akrw might have one last chance to end this one before the end of regulation. Daniel in the corner, though, pinches this all the way out, and Fifi just needs to wrap himself around this. He cannot, and it hits the ground. 3-3 overtime, game number 2.
It's so painful watching these teams need to cut their losses over and over again, but in a tight deadlock like this with only 20 seconds left on the board, sometimes you gotta be 3 steps ahead of you just calling the ball out now. 10 seconds deep in OT, and Akrw has this early attack, but they have to remember not to overextend. Akrw has to have that beeline back towards goal ready. That is his prime directive when it comes to Akrw's 2-1 cycle, and Daniel already beginning to challenge him on that, and so we see the rest of Akrw having to cycle back, save face, and let SSG take the reins for the moment.
Although they do get a decent touch out of midfield here, which means Fifi can set himself up in the corner. He's actually going to deny it. He's going to instead leave it to Oath, and where is Akrw? He comes in eventually, but all he can really do is look for a 50-50 here in the corner. His 2 teammates were so far pushed up that they couldn't fully commit. They'll commit on this one, though, and Oath, he's going to try and take this one low, and he can't get it on target. Bodies 2 defenders, but the shot is off, and we go a minute into overtime with multiple chances for Akrw to close this one out, but they just can't quite do it.
And now the ball is back on this blue corner. Akrw gonna drive it away again, and LJ just trying to redirect it, give SSG some extra time so the 3-man commit can come through, but that leaves enough space for Oath to at least make an approach. Fifi with the follow-up gets a demo in the process for his troubles. Akrw a second try, but now Oath has to back up back to midfield to give Akrw the ball again, which they will take back, but they're not in the prime position to be able to score off of it. They have to take their time just a little bit more. Akrw trying to chase down at least somebody. Keep that intimidation factor so Akrw keeps control of the ball. That is objective number 1, apart from, you know, getting it in the goal. And Akrw, they're maintaining this control for quite some time at this point. There's been a big hiccup between SSG actually grabbing this back, but with the demo onto Oath, I'm sure the equilibrium might be restored a little bit here.
Oh, you'd like to think so, but as Akrw sends this one to the ceiling, it's more offensive pressure out of Akrw. Remember how game number 1, I said that it was overwhelming with Spacestation having the majority of shots? Yeah, game number 2, little bit of a different story here as Akrw have a total of 17, make it 18 shots now versus the only 5 that Spacestation have. The Spacestation have been forced to make so many saves. I believe it's 14 total. So Akrw only missing the mark on a single one of those shots. But unfortunately, it doesn't matter. Even that one miss is going to make a difference as we are 2 minutes in overtime. And despite the onslaught of pressure, it's now SSG who get a chance the other way. LJ pokes this one out to the corner where Oath is waiting. He can at least get a decent touch, but a 50-50, all that he is met with as Arsenal dives on. Now SSG, you might not have had many shots throughout regulation. Can you find some in overtime? The answer is no. Arsenal dives onto this one yet again, but as someone is back out, oh, I was gonna say, Akrw should have a free clear. Nothing free about it though. Daniel out of midfield, and we are halfway through an extra game in overtime and still no closer to finding our ender.
Yeah, knee deep, and to think we still have to play at least one more game after this. SSG trying to make sure it's only one singular game as this attrition continues to pile on. Arsenal with that nice backup gonna keep this ball stationed as long as possible. Oath early contest though, and that's the momentum that our crew might be looking for. LJ with a stopper for now, but Akrw may have a solid angle. No, he doesn't have enough momentum behind that rise, and so Akrw just has to focus on control for the time being, which they will get. CP with a drop down from the backboard, but a beautiful double commit will give the ball a really solid clear. Daniel trying to turn it into something. Akrw are gonna miss out. Arsenal with a line drive, but Fifi's back in time along with Akrw to get it away. But SSG, they may have this control back. No, Oath winning the 50-50. That's a beautiful bit of hesitation. Goal's a bit open here. Akrw tries to get up, but Arsenal puts a stopper to it, so Daniel can drive it back away. 3.5 minutes now, and SSG has wrestled the ball back.
We said that they have not missed many shots, but the 2 that they have missed have left Akrw stranded. An open net. Oath goes the other way, and instead of being able to hit the mark, he puts it a bit too high, and that gives now a chance for SSG to find some more offense. Daniel out of midfield can't wrap himself around this one though, and Akrw's gonna try and beat him to it. 50-50, not met there as Akrw dives onto the ball, and Fifi and Oath now forced into a defense here. Oath will make the save. We are 4 minutes into overtime, game number 2. Again, we said this was the closest matchup by far in our upper bracket after round number 1, and it is already delivering. Can Akrw deliver here though? Great first touch, even better second as he gets a 50-50. Awkward in the net, Daniel goes off the bar, but Fifi can't really put on a shot. Oath tried to drop it down to him, but it was a bit lackluster, and that's going to result in SSG getting a chance the other way. Oath pokes this one past LJ and Arsenal though, so they are forced into their corner, and Arsenal with no boost in the tank should be met by a 50-50 here. Actually a straight out beat. Fifi able to send this one to the ceiling, but LJ gets there before the offense of Akrw. We are almost a game extended at this point, Tenbreg. I don't really know what to expect, what's going to end this one, but it's got to be a banger considering the way the defenses are just stepping up right now.
The craziest thing to me is that only a team like SSG can hold up this long against a team like Akrw at the caliber that they're playing right now. Their ability to get these very quick counterattacks, most teams would not be able to keep up with it, but Arsenal, Daniel, and LJ, they are all keeping pace. This metronome beats for them as well. And here we are approaching that 5-minute mark, and we're back in orange territory again, but there's no setup, no arc to deliver for Akrw, and so they have to go back to square one.
Just back and forth. The tennis match doesn't even begin to describe this. This is a pendulum swinging as it continues to go back and forth and back and forth. Although a demo opens up the net and Akrw finally find their opening. It took them over 20 shots to get here, but it is the 20 whatever that finishes them off.
And what a 2018 YouTube tutorial way to finish that. Just one simple demo on the back line from that goal line, able to carry into a simple 3v2 to give that goal advantage and an open net to Akrw as they take game 2 once again by a 1-goal margin over 5 minutes of OT, and we still have at least 2 games left to play.
Oh God, you can't be saying stuff like that. All of a sudden I recognize how, dude, this is the longest game of my entire life. And not only is it the longest game of my entire life, but it's a series that I wouldn't miss a moment for. Okay, I actually did the caster math. I'm hoping this is correct. 25 shots for Akrw in that game. 25 wait, no. 23. 23. This is why I said caster math. I had to preface it with that one. 23 total shots. It's the 23rd that finally hits the back of the net. Meanwhile, on the other side, 16 saves required out of Space Station. That was a war of attrition. You said it halfway through that one, and I could not have used a more apt description. What on earth?
Yeah, what an undertaking. I mean, just looking at the scores here, Daniel with 971, Arsenal with 895. I mean, it just blows this out of the water with the amount of work that they had to do just to keep from Akrw from punching through so often. That's what blows my mind, really, is that Akrw, they're so used to being this very quiet team that plays on very shady scaffolding, and then they make those very quick exclamation point statements in order to score their goals. But Akrw's been doing that like every 7 seconds versus SSG this time around, rather than every, say, minute and a half. Usually it's Akrw on the ropes on that back foot trying to go for those saves, but instead, this time around, SSG was put under that hydraulic press. And now we're tied up in the series again. We're back to a full reset. Everyone has got to completely, fundamentally rethink how to play this game. We start with a clean slate. But Bass, I have to admit, I'm still a little underwhelmed by LJ. I really think he'd be doing so much more.
I cannot agree with you more here. It's not that LJ has had a poor performance. It's just that we expected him to be that X factor for this team. LJ had been touted as one of the best players in North America, and it's not that he isn't the best player in North America, but when you have a title like that, you've got to live up to the expectations. And right now, the expectations, honestly, are probably more in favor of Akrw. There are probably a lot of people watching right now who are just SSG fans that are coming into this one and going, okay, yeah, we know of Akrw, but do we really know the team? Well, you're getting a good introduction right now, because oh my, have Akrw put on the pressure and put on the ropes all of this SSG defense. Speaking of which, Arsenal and Daniel on the ropes out of midfield here. LJ has to make a diving save, and it's not really working out. I don't know what's working out right now as the two teams just continue to clash back and forth. There is no room to breathe. Usually you get at least a little bit of room in the air, but look how quickly players like Akrw are there to fill in the gaps.
To SSG fans who had just gotten off of a Game 5 versus Loco and who now have to sit through a series like this, I say to you, now you feel like an Akrw fan. Now you know how it feels to be stuck in those OTs, stuck in those 1-goal gaps, stuck on those constant shady scaffolding deficits. I know I keep using that analogy. It's just so perfect for how Akrw runs. It's just like this very old 18th century building that has like a bunch of wooden platforms just building up to the actual building. And it looks terrible, but it works. It works well enough that people respect it, and people fear it sometimes. And honestly, that's exactly the kind of thing that Akrw wants to have reputation-wise, going into such a big question mark of a tournament with so many new additions, so many new changes to how Rocket League esports is going to work. As an SSG fan, as an Akrw fan, as a Rocket League fan, you have to be on the edge of your seat, whether you're watching this tournament or whether you're just scrolling through the transfer changes on Wikipedia or Twitter.
Honestly, at this point, this is one of these things where if you're not paying attention to this, you might as well not be paying attention to RLCS. All of these teams are going to have an impact next season. And speaking of impact, the number one impact I took away from that, that little spiel right there, is you just call Akrw old? Come on now, man. They're not that old.
They are dinosaurs.
They are not dinosaurs. Chill. Let's leave them be, especially considering they're moving pretty quick here. Good save on the line is going to keep them at a 0-0 score line going into the second minute of play. Daniel, though, might be able to change that one up. He wants the double touch off the backboard, but but no one makes it. Arsenal cleared the lane, and as LJ is too far out of midfield, they can't even get a shot. Matter of fact, they can't even get a touch out at mid. Fifi's got a free shot, but he can't get past LJ. Recovery on point, and the new addition steps up when it counts the most.
It really is crazy watching how many steps it takes for a team to kind of make these defenses happen. On Akrw's end, they kind of cut these resources short chunk by chunk, so when it comes time to attack, SSG is incapable of doing so. But SSG, they're just capable of going toe-to-toe when it comes to these defenses and contests. They're fine with these 50-50s. They're fine with this aerial control. They're fine with getting in the faces of Akrw and keeping this ball in their own territory as long as it means that their counterattack cycling is beautiful. And so far, it absolutely has been. We're still in Akrw territory, and was able to wrestle this away, but this ball has been stuck in this corner for quite some time. I'm surprised we haven't seen some sort of lame traffic jam or Rule 1 encapsulate this game yet, but that's not what we're hitting so far, as Daniel's gonna get demoed. But SSG, they keep this pressure going. Look at LJ with that rush down, that crucial extra couple seconds burned away for SSG to get back on their feet.
They're barely on their feet, though. It feels like nobody's really on their feet. They're just kind of tilting back and forth. That would have been tilting had that gone in, but Oath makes yet another save. Again, as much as Akrw have been the offensive pressure through these second 2 games, they are still so incredibly impressive on defense, and honestly, there hasn't been much offensive pressure in this game. 3 total shots through almost 4 minutes of play, 2 in favor of SSG, 1 for Akrw. No one's really had a clear lane on target. That one doesn't even go on target. The redirect out of the corner, unfortunately, a little bit off the mark, and we have 75 seconds left for either one of these teams to find a goal before the end of regulation. Otherwise, we go to our second overtime in a row, and after a 5-minute overtime in game number 2, I don't know if my heart can take another one like that. Hey, listen, in EU, I casted for Williams Resolve, so I got kind of prepared for that. That team has got some sort of history with overtimes, but maybe now SSG and Akrw are going to take that mantle in North America. We'll have to find out. 50 seconds to go here. Daniel pops this one out to the corner. Good flip reset. Should at least extend the play, but not for much longer. Arsenal has to try and doink this out, and he's not really going to be able to do much as Astro meets him on the backboard. And we go to just about a half a minute left, tier 10 rec, and honestly, it is still anybody's ball game.
This is the really painful part when it comes to watching 2 of the best defensive teams in the territory duke it out, but Daniel has a good lineup upon a whiff. That's the lead for SSG. They will take it and run like hell with it for the next 28 seconds.
Unfortunately, it's one single miss. Fifi at an awkward angle. He basically had to perfectly touch that to send it to the backboard and out, but when he can't get that angle, it is up for Daniel to find a freebie into the left side of the net. 28 seconds left, though. There ain't much free about this game. There might be a win, though, for SSG if they can hold on. A couple of demos here and there cause confusion, but now it's up to Akrw to march down the other side of the pitch. Astro in the air. What's he going to do with it? Sends it to the backboard. Daniel cuts that one out, but Oath perfectly reads it and is able to at least get a touch to try and contain the outbreak that would be SSG's offense. 10 seconds to go. Akrw need to march downfield and find at least a shot. Instead, they find themselves with saves on the line. Oath will keep this one alive, and so will Fifi. Popped up high. LJ tries to read off the backboard. Indeed, he does. And Spacestation, by the hair on their chinny chin chin, barely able to take game number 3.
Akrw forced to play for distance instead of altitude. Spacestation whittling away as they damn well should, able to barely scrape away with that game 3. But I mean, Bass, if it hasn't been decided by this point in the series, it should be decided by this point in the series. It is impossible to know who is going to go 2-0 by the end of round 2 between these 2 teams. It really is. Despite match point for Spacestation, despite LJ starting to level up this time around, it is still so even.
This is one of these things, once again, if you are a Spacestation fan coming into this one and are not completely familiar with Akrw, do me a favor, follow the channel, go follow the players on Twitter, and pay attention to what is probably one of the best teams coming out of the bubble season from last year, and probably is trying to pop that bubble and get into the more professional scene in this next season. These guys are stepping up when it counts. This is not, again, this is a Spacestation that has been touted as possibly one of the best rosters going into this next season with the addition of LJ, and Akrw are making them work for these wins. A 1-0 in game number 3 really does show that this one is an absolute nail biter as it stands, but unfortunately, they may not have any more nail left to bite. It's game number 4 of this series. If SSG wins this one, they go 2-0 to start off this Swiss stage, and they move on with possibly one of the best performances of the night. Again, it has been close, but SSG, they're stepping up when it counts. Let's see if they can do it again. Game number 4 just about underway. A chance for Akrw to stay in the upper bracket, and a chance for SSG to knock them out.
It's kind of bittersweet, isn't it? SSG kind of always being touted as this absolute behemoth, this final boss when it comes to tournaments like this, and yet it's had trouble. These guys have had trouble for both of these two matches, and yet instead of saying, wow, the competition is really getting good this time around, you know for a fact that people are saying SSG washed, LJ trash, etc., etc., etc. Absolutely not. Are you kidding me right now? Oh. Okay, well, look, you can't say SSG is washed, but if you isolate this 21-second clip and then put it on Twitter, then maybe you can say something is washed. I don't know.
Yeah, we're gonna say nothing is washed. We're just gonna, I'm gonna wash my eyes out and forget that ever happened. 21 seconds into this game here, Akrw gonna have to try and bounce back from behind after so many close games in a row. That has got to hurt to have the momentum, not just go against you this early, but to now be in completely of favor of SSG. Oh my gosh, don't tell me that's an own goal.
No way.
Okay, it's still a goal.
Oh my God,
way.
you just converted it.
Game
All right,
number
that's
4.
our time. Thanks so much for coming.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Anyways.
Right. Okay, so let's just pretend. Let's just pretend Game 4 just started.
Yep.
And regulation time is 4:27 long for this specific game and nothing else. Let's just do that.
Yeah. You know, the clean handshake,
Great.
and we all go back to 0 here. Just back to normal.
Nobody saw anything.
No. We all had blindfolds on, and hopefully Akrw doesn't have a blindfold here. He actually has nothing. Sent to the Shadow Realm, as all of a sudden SSG are forced into their back half here. LJ, not a great touch, though, so it should be at least some more pressure from Oath. He sends it to the backboard, but no one on the crew is prepared for the follow-up touch. Instead, Akrw has to dive out at mid to try and set up one of his teammates, and it actually kind of works out, if not for the fact that Arsenal read that one 2 ways to Sunday. And speaking of which, all of a sudden, this read on the other half is not going to be met by an Akrw player. Feels like Akrw, that early goal kind of has them shaking in their boots. They are not nearly as aggressive on offense right now.
Yeah, they definitely took a step back. You can absolutely tell.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what I like to see from a lot of teams, actually. Every single time a new game starts, when you're at this level of play, this tier, then I think it's really healthy for a team to kind of go back to the beginning of a game for the follow-up, even if it's the very same team, and say, let's pretend we're playing against a completely new team. Let's figure out everything from scratch again. Let's play neutral. Let's play with very simple approaches, not take too many risks, and just figure out how to beat this iteration of Space Station here in Game 4 in the second series of specifically the roster Royale. And so far, they've been able to do it. They've been able to hold their own for the past minute and a half. Fifi with a clear away to Oath, gonna try and toe-to-toe with LJ, but LJ in the perfect spot to get it back. Daniel gonna get that demo as well for his troubles, and SSG, they're able to mount a solid attack here themselves. Arsenal puts it up. Astro keeps it up for the moment to give Akrw a little bit more time to rotate properly, and Oath gonna steal this away for the defense, but SSG, they have too much presence to be denied just yet. Daniel and Fifi, it's again clashing at this corner. Fifi gonna try and run away with it, but now the boost management's a little bit off, and so Akrw, they have to slow down yet again. Oath carrying it through this corner, LJ to Daniel, back up again, and the clear will force Akrw to rotate back. And after a very tumultuous 33 first seconds, these past 2 minutes have been relatively tame by our standards at this pace, I think.
I mean, it's tame, but the big reason, in my opinion, that we're starting to see a little bit more open space is due to SSG starting to get those demos involved. You can see they are aggressive for the bumps and demos, and honestly, I think it's due to the defense that we are seeing out of Akrw. In the words of one of the best casters in North America, Jorby, if you can't beat them, delete them. That's what they're doing right now, is SSG are trying to break down this entire defense and find a way through by just dismantling any sort of rotations that Akrw have right now. They've got 2 minutes to continue on with this path, but unfortunately, despite their various efforts, despite sending so many cars to the scrapyard, they still have not found a second goal. And the only one they did find in this game is off an own goal. So they're going to have to change something up even further. It could be here, but no! Fifi and Daniel both missed the ball. Astro comes diving in, but LJ, not a great touch, so this one's going to go right back into the SSG half. With 100 seconds left, it's looking like Akrw might just be able to mount up yet another offense here and continue on with the pressure. Never mind. Out to the corner it goes, and Daniel chases this one down, but Akrw got to restart their offense.
Yeah, you could see Akrw, they had that attrition going, and we're trying to not necessarily push that envelope, more just like coax it forward, and instead what they got was one singular clear, and by that point, Astro was a little too far overextended, so Akrw, they have to go for that full reset yet again. Arsenal gonna drive this ball back towards midfield, and LJ, a beautiful pickup, but it's just off kilter. Daniel with the attempted finisher, but Fifi gets stabilized again, and Akrw, by the skin of their teeth, over and over and over again, they continue to barely defend Fifi with a counterattack, but Arsenal can drag it back up. This really is defense for defense. both so evenly matched.
I can't believe this. Honestly, SSG is going, okay, you guys want to make last-second saves? Here, let me do the exact same thing. Arsenal barely, with even maybe a quarter of a second to go, gets the perfect touch. And speaking of perfect touches, Daniel has one to get over Oath, but cannot get past Akrw, who is on the backboard. But LJ, he can get a shot, and he still can't get past Akrw. We asked for him to get more involved in offense. I take it back. Just stay on defense like you're doing, and you won't let SSG get a single shot in the net. Although, this one does get around Akrw. Arsenal tries to send it back center, but can't get another touch, so Oath gets a free touch out to midfield. There's the interference we were talking about, but Daniel does not interfere enough to throw Fifi out of the net. And with 10 seconds to go, here comes Akrw. It's possibly the last march downfield they will see all game. Fifi puts his back center. LJ's the only one there, though, so now a chance to connect. Daniel, shot on target, and Akrw once again turns this one away. They find their second save, and we find yet another overtime.
But SSG has been throwing heaters back. They're looking more threatening game by game, second by second. Immediately, a line drive from Daniel has to be contested, but Oath with that counterattack. LJ's ready, though. And now the post kickoff has ended. We now enter real Rocket League, real neutral Rocket League, real overtime Rocket League. One goal could bring SSG to round 3 with a 2-0 record. One goal could take us to game number 5. Daniel again from the back. We're up the crossbar, so close. Arsenal trying to pick it up back again. Akrw with a contest. Akrw from below. Beautiful stuff. But this defense, it's waning, and for a reason, SSG just haven't stopped yet. Oath has a good clear, gets past one, but LJ with that backline ready again. This shuffle is good, but Daniel, can he manage the 2 for no? Yes! Oh my goodness, Daniel just able to barely avoid that body block. Now Akrw has to rush down and defend solo for the moment. Arsenal again, and now it's a traffic jam right in front of the blue goal for the umpteenth time this game, as Akrw and Oath try and clear it back away, and SSG now finally on the back foot for the first time in what seems like forever.
This overtime is just relentless. Teams diving at the ball, saves oh so last second. I can call it last second. It's last millisecond at this point. But seconds-wise, we are 70 into overtime here and no closer to finding the end of the game. Although Fifi with a big miss there, he gets lucky as LJ was not prepared for it, so he does not dive. Arsenal instead does dive in the corner, and Akrw, he's going to punish them for that. It's Daniel by his lonesome out of midfield. He does get a good touch, but what about the follow-up? Flip reset does not get past Fifi as he gets a 50-50. And Akrw on the backboard. He's going to play this one very patiently. Wait for the touch out of SSG, then make a dive to force Daniel into the air. Oh, speaking of force, Fifi forced to make a save on the line. And once again, SSG, they throw the house at their opponents, and it is still not enough to sink the ship. They're plugging every hole possible, continuing to just throw water off the boat. Although, this could be pretty fluid if they're able to move downfield. Fifi, good 50-50. Oath drops it down, but Akrw is not there. Miscommunication, and Akrw are forced to retreat into their own half as we pass 2 minutes into overtime.
Both of these attacks are such double-edged swords. You're using so much time, burning so much boost away from your opponents, that even if your attack is as powerful as it is, which for both sides, it is so powerful, you're also utilizing so much of the boost that your opponents have, draining them of their resources too, so their counterattack is steadily weaker, and that's what we've seen for this past minute or so. Both these teams having kind of mid-attacks, but another backboard shot gives Fifi an open line, but no, LJ can get to it first because their boost was drained again. The back-to-back Akrw just barely able to corner it away, but now Akrw is worse for wear. Oath trying to juggle it on the ground, gets past 2. That might be all he needs. The maneuver to the body block. Daniel has to get there in time, and he will, but can Akrw follow up? No, he whiffs! But Akrw, they have control for just a fleeting moment. Can they keep it now? An attempted pinch from the ground, but Oath is surprisingly a little bit too early this time. Fifi trying to follow Daniel as well as that ball, but you can't do both. At some point, something's got to crack. And now Akrw, they cycle back, ready for the Space Station defense. As Oath counterattacks Arsenal back up against midfield, and SSG, they want to keep this ball for the rest of OT.
Oh, but they're not going to be able to. I really highly doubt it unless they get a boomer right now. LJ sends one to the backboard, but that's an open net! Akrw finds himself with a breakaway play! And after 3.5 minutes, we're heading to game number 5.
So that's 28 minutes of play so far, and we got to hit another 5 as Akrw. Another breakaway leads to another overtime swiped away. We have one more game to determine who's going to take this, and I think it's safe to say both these teams are going to be at their peak for this. LJ has meshed in well for these past 2, maybe even 3 games if you really want to get cocky about it. Akrw cycling is immaculate. It's never looked better, even from the past season. They're back like they never left and better than ever before. And they're not going to stop. They are on a hell of a pace to go for this 5th game. I'm so torn about whether or not it's going to be like incredibly close, but like no one scores, or incredibly close, but it's just goal after goal after goal.
I'll take both of them, honestly. I don't care which one. At this point, I'm just happy we get a game number 5. This feels like game number 28, but to be honest, it's pretty much what this is. This has been the series. Again, if you come into this one thinking, oh, SSG, they face Akrw, they're just going to wipe the... No. Pick your jaw up off the floor and let's get ready for game number 5. I can't believe what we are seeing here. Akrw pulling out not just all the stops, pulling out the defense that you would never see. It is otherworldly. Remember I said, hey, Astro, if you want to play a little bit of defense, that's fine. I'm glad to see it because you're going insane. Yeah, he finishes with 6 saves in game number 4. Let's see, can they get some more saves in game number 5, and can either one of these teams close out the series before the end of regulation? I don't know what's more likely, 28 shots or the fact that we see more saves from either side. Let's just let this one roll. Game number 5 officially underway. Akrw versus SSG. Winner of this goes 2-0 and advances to the winner's qualification match. I don't know who to predict, but I'm ready for it.
If you're an SSG fan, strap in, grab your popcorn, and stay on the edge of your seat for 5 more straight minutes. If you're an Akrw fan, I don't have to give you any advice. You've been here before so many times. But here we go, game number 5, already starting off with these demos. We pick up right where we left off, no extra lessons needed. An SSG, a 3-man attack, still isn't enough just yet. No proper angles, but you can tell that geometry is racing through their heads. Arsenal off the crossbar, and Daniel gonna try and keep this picked up. They've corralled these 2 corner boosts, and they're trying to use that extra power to get that goal punched in just barely, and it's still coming. Arsenal half boost up. He can try and go for these resets, but he won't completely, and Astro gets the preemptive save. Fifi with the attempted corner clear, but now LJ, he's been able to cycle back with max boost and take this ball again, and it's SSG all over this first minute of game 5.
Oh, they have so much offensive pressure, but unfortunately, the same enemy that they have faced in games previous is still around. The crossbar and post, denying multiple shots, 4 of them within the first minute. Let's see if maybe the 5th is the one that can drone to the back of the net. Daniel drops this one low, but Fifi is there to at least get a touch, and as Astro flicks this one up high, LJ will have nothing further on this. Arsenal dives in, but it's not going to be a shot quite yet. Here comes Daniel, denied again by Oath. We talk about the defense from Akrw having to step up. Yeah, Oath has already done that. He's already found a savior medal 90 seconds into this game.
And see, I mean, this is the kind of Akrw you expect. They defend for 4 straight minutes, and then they try and go for their attack. This is the kind of game that I thought we were going to have for at least games 1 or 2, but it's finally here. Akrw stuck at their own goal for almost 2 full minutes now, but nothing is punched through until maybe now. No! LJ, cursed by man's best friend, the crossbar. Fifi gonna use it for a conversion from downtown to score the first goal of game 5.
Oh, so quick, and there are the perils. If you try and send the house, you better be prepared to retreat, and they were not. SSG, they throw everything at their opponents. Forget the baby in the bathwater. They threw the entire bathtub at them at that point, and unfortunately, it's still not enough. Akrw find themselves with a lead with 2 minutes gone off the clock, but can they hold on to it? LJ would like to think otherwise, but this one goes high. Daniel drops it low, and there's the tying goal. SSG with a quick response.
They attacked exactly how they needed to attack at the exact time they needed to attack. Akrw's post kickoff is notoriously weaker than a lot of other NA teams. They just need a little bit extra time to put themselves together, stockpile their defenses, and then hold it down for 2 straight minutes. But if you don't give them that time of day, then it's going to be a lot easier to score on them. Space Station immediately equalized beyond the 3-minute mark, and now Akrw looks like they've finally broken out of their own territory, and they're going to try and make another attack happen. Fifi, revenge kills again, and it's 2-1 Akrw.
Once again, this is what we talked about. If you can see a play coordinated, sometimes you just gotta watch it go over your head. Arsenal, by themselves, just tries to find some sort of interference and cannot. No touch on the ball, and Akrw back to the lead. This is what you were talking about, Tenrek. You said maybe we get to see a shootout in game number 5. This is not a shootout. This is a Western-style gun brawl. I'm loving what we're seeing.
But you gotta take cover at some point. Both these teams have to learn how to retreat properly. They do it so easily in games outside this one, even inside this very series. And we see that a little bit here. Both these teams adopting a little more of a conservative strategy, at least for a couple fleeting seconds, getting their feet back on the ground, understanding that whirlwind of a first half of a game. But SSG, they got to get their head in the game a little bit sooner. Arsenal, a line drive from behind, but that's not the right angle. LJ attempts to recoup to Daniel off the crossbar again. Arsenal tries to keep it upstairs, but Fifi with a demo will hand this ball back over to Akrw for a limited time here. No, Arsenal actually with a great carry to keep this ball alive, and now the rest of SSG is completely in on this. They have dipped all their chips on the table. They are ready to go 110% for the next 2 minutes if need be, and the way that Akrw has to defend, that is feasible.
Oh, it's feasible, but unfortunately, I don't think they're going to rest on a 2-1. Maybe you want to try and play some defense. Maybe you want to brick wall the back line, but Akrw, what they'd like instead is a third goal and a safety net in case of that SSG attack. Again, when breakaway plays are so common, you do not want to rest on your laurels and just try and focus on a 2-1 scoreline. You want the 3-1, the 4-1, any sort of gap you can find. Speaking of gaps, Daniel creates one in air, but he can't get past Oath, and Fifi, he can get past the defense here. Arsenal does get a bump, though, to interfere on that midfield presence, and unfortunately, Akrw cannot break out of their half and get an offense together. Daniel can get an offense, but Oath cuts it out! Ego challenge off the ceiling. If he can get there, this should be in, but Arsenal barely able to beat him back. Oath with no boost left in the tank, but maybe Fifi can do him dirty. No such luck. Daniel to the ceiling, pops one to the backboard. Astro can't read it, and it gets punished. One mistake on defense is all it takes, and SSG find an equalizer.
The follow-up was too slow, the follow-up to the follow-up was too slow, and the follow-up to the follow-up to the follow-up was too slow for Akrw's defense. But you know the greatest part of it? SSG orchestrated that every step of the way. They made sure that boost was gone. They made sure that Arsenal was on the way early on. They made sure that he was ready with that drop-down post, and they had a goal to thank for it. Now, 45 seconds to go. We're back where we love to be, Bass. A tie game. A potential breakaway forces Astro to go for a defensive redirect early on. But here we go again. Will the attrition commence, or will Akrw break out again? 30 seconds to go. LJ, another carry of his own. He's shown like a star these past couple games, really starting to show why he deserves to be on a team like SSG. But is it enough, or will Akrw swipe away game 5 and go to just one match away, excuse me, from moving on to day 2?
Oh. They've got a chance. That shot goes to the backboard, though, and they're barely able to defend it. Speaking of barely able to defend, Astro and Oath have to combine to try and get this off the half. Fifi running interference, but Arsenal on the backboard able to contain that one. And now a chance. Oath puts a shot off. Where is Fifi? 50-50 sent to the backboard. And unless the Akrw can score here, we're heading to yet another overtime. And indeed, we are. We do not stop with the hits here. It is 2-2. Game number 5. A single goal determines this entire series, and it could be a goal we find right now. SSG building up the offensive pressure. LJ interfering in net, so Astro's in an awkward position. He feels backflips, but Daniel with no boost doesn't know what to do with the ball. Arsenal will recover, try to keep this one in the box, but unfortunately for SSG, despite their best efforts, they haven't found a clear lane yet. Speaking of clear lane, though, Daniel clears the lane after Arsenal gets 2 bumps in a row. We said the bumps, we said the physicality would make the difference, and indeed it does. 26 seconds, and SSG move on.
A beautiful arrangement of body blocks, and Daniel's ability to get that extra weave over the final defender is all you need. Just make sure no defender is available for your attack. It's as simple as that, guys. I don't know why you're all not SSL at this point, but SSG is going to be able to take game 5 in a 5-goal extravaganza. Hey,